Welcome into the Geek Therapy Radio podcast. I am, of course, your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger, and today I wanted to talk about the fact that Tesla seems to be flying too close to the sun. And if you think I'm talking about the cars, I'm actually not. As we all know, in terms of Tesla Motor Company, Elon Musk has a pretty bad case historically of eating crow and putting his foot in his mouth and basically, to me, not always understanding the concept of under-promising and over-delivering. It seems to be the opposite way in his brain of over-promise, under-deliver. So not meeting deadlines, not meeting production quotas, not meeting sales numbers, over-promising the abilities of self-driving cars and the time frame by which we will all be in self-driving cars. So I'm not talking about that. And, really on that note, I understand why he says all those things, why he talks that big game. I understand the optimism, but as someone who has eaten crow many times in his personal life, you'd think at some point you'd learn, or perhaps maybe he's emboldened by all of his money to make these claims, create all this hype and make these big claims on the off chance that he's correct about one or two of them. I kind of think he might be shaking in his boots a little bit, knowing that the writing is on the wall in terms of Tesla Motor Company in regard to EVs coming out in earnest from the big automakers like Volkswagen and Mercedes and Ford and Chevy. He knows that Tesla Motors might not be able to compete once those guys come to the stage. So basically, try as Tesla might to come out with affordable electric cars like the Model 3, it's going to be undone. That's the writing on the wall. Why would someone spend 35 grand, 40 grand if you're lucky on a Model 3 when you can spend 10 grand less, half as much perhaps in some cases, on an EV Volkswagen that does almost the same thing as far as features and everything like that. So anyways, the competition is about to heat up in the EV market, and Tesla knows that the writing is on the wall, so they're struggling, and perhaps that's why Musk makes these big, huge announcements and promises, is maybe he feels like his back is against the wall, and instead of just being modest, he has to go bolder and bolder with it. I could understand that mentality. I could wrap my head around why he's talking the big game when he may feel like his backup is against the wall. But that's not the point of this segment. The point of this segment has to do with Tesla is involved in other renewable energy segments, particularly solar panels. When they bought Solar City in 2016, they acquired Solar City, and Solar City has installed solar panels, in this case, in several different Walmart stores, on the roofs of several different Walmart stores. So basically, shoppers could charge their Teslas via solar power in the Walmart parking lots. Also, the solar panels would run things like the air conditioning systems of these Walmarts. And remember, Walmart, if in case you're listening in a country outside of the United States that doesn't have Walmart, Walmarts are gargantuan warehouse-sized retail stores. There is a lot of air to cool and move through a Walmart. So the energy requirements of these solar panels is equally gargantuan. So here's the problem, though. Walmart has sued Tesla over several roof fires, seven roof fires that Walmart says Tesla is responsible for due to, quote, widespread systemic negligence. So in a nutshell, I'm not going to go over every single case because really the first roof fire occurred in 2012, and a few have happened since then, but staggered. And Walmart themselves didn't, get Tesla involved with this because they're so kind of few and far between that Walmart just chalked it up to an accident, basically, that Tesla was not responsible for these random fires on the roofs. But since where does it say here? I'm reading the article. Since 2017 or since 2018, there's been 3 fires within very short amount of time of each other, and this kind of got This definitely got Walmart's attention, saying, okay, 3 fires within a very short window of each other at 3 different locations in 2018. Let's investigate this. This might be due to some negligence, and this might be due to, this may be the fault of Tesla now. These aren't just 3 odd random occurrences. They aren't 7 random occurrences. The last 3 have been at 3 separate locations within a very short window, causing a need for an investigation. And basically what they found, I'll go over the list here. And I'm quoting, this is from an Ars Technica article. I'll link it in the podcast description below if you want to read over it yourself. Among the problems Walmart claims to have identified are these, and these aren't all of them. These are just some of them. First bullet point, many of the Tesla solar panels inspected by Walmart were suffering from hot spots, resulting in cracking of the back sheets on solar modules and compromising electrical insulation. And now I'll side note that. What this means, these hot spots are basically areas of high resistance. Basically, if you put something over the solar panel, like a piece of tape, like Tesla was using in their repairs, in that shady part of the solar panel, the resistance, the electrical resistance, skyrockets and creates a hot spot that can burst into flames. That's why it's important, if you own solar panels, to do a reasonable job of keeping them clean and keeping them out of the shade so that portions of the panel aren't in the shade while other portions are getting direct sunlight. It's basically like it's clogging. That's not a good example. There's a lot of resistance in those shady parts, and those shady parts can actually heat up quite a bit as current tries to go through them. They're being blocked up. The current running through the solar panel is getting blocked up in those shady parts where the current isn't moving, where electricity is not being produced. So there's not a free flow of electrons, so the shady parts heat up. Throughout the course of a day, it doesn't really matter. If a shadow moves across the panel, it's not a big deal. But if you do something like place a piece of tape over a crack, like Tesla was doing in these repairs, that tape doesn't move, and that's there day in, day out, causing this hotspot issue. So that was one of the issues. Let's move down the list for some other issues. The next bullet point is, quote, making matters worse, Tesla had flagged or identified hotspots by placing pieces of tape, like I just said, over the affected areas. Because this tape prevented sunlight from reaching the solar panel, it exacerbated the problem by further concentrating heat, like I just mentioned. Next bullet point, Tesla teams consistently failed to torque or tighten field-made connectors. The lack of torquing leads to moisture and water intrusion. So basically, they were not effectively making sure the connections were secure. So it's like a garden hose loosely attached to the spigot. Water's going to be shooting out everywhere. Water can get in, moisture can get in, different things. It's not if you don't properly insulate wires, you're creating a definite fire hazard. Moving down the list here. Next bullet point, sharp points from, among other items, rough concrete or metal edges, were cutting into or abrading wires. In other cases, temperature changes resulted in the expansion and contraction of wires over time, moving the wires and resulting in their abrasion or exposure. That's bad news. The last bullet point here are multiple sites had improper grounding. That is quite the rap sheet of improper installation, and you're dealing with thousands and thousands of watts of electrical generation, many amps. Yet I'm assuming these are 240 volt systems, but you're dealing with a lot of power. So you have to make sure that each and every connection is secure and up to snuff, up to standard. And apparently, Tesla was not providing that in their installations for Walmart, resulting in fires that have costed Walmart millions in damage, millions and millions. To make matters worse, as of now, Tesla has not offered a dime yet. And now I think this is due to the fact that this has not gone all the way through court yet. And why is Tesla going to pay up if they don't have to pay up, even though it seems like it is definitely their fault? That is an editorial on my part. I'm not saying it is definitely their part, but there's way too much here for it to be a coincidence. I'm just saying the judge has to rule, and then money can be appropriated appropriately. So my take on all of this, the big question here is, and what I want to kind of get your opinion on, if you so have an opinion on this, is I feel like Tesla as a company overall, whether it's EVs or solar panels, not so much SpaceX. I think SpaceX is the strongest part of the Tesla team right now. Really, I think SpaceX has the most promise out of all three of Elon Musk's ventures. When's the last time you even heard about Hyperloop or talked about Hyperloop? Hyperloop is almost universally being panned as kind of as silly, and I think it's a really cool idea. It's just not a viable thing, as of right now. In the future, we may be riding around in hyper speed underground tunnels and above ground tunnels, but it's really hard to engineer that stuff, and it's very expensive. It's much easier, much more cost effective to put the money into EVs and electric vehicles than it is into something like Hyperloop. That's an entire different ballgame. So Elon Musk has his fingers in all sorts of different pots. I think SpaceX is the strongest currently, and things change. But I think overall, Elon Musk and the Tesla ventures are flying a little bit too close to the sun, and their wings are melting right now. That's just what I feel right now. So can Tesla recover from this latest taboo or this latest issue with setting Walmart roofs on fire? We'll see. I have a feeling that maybe they can, but we'll see. I just think that Tesla's being a little bit too fast and loose with their business ventures, and I want to know what you think. You can always email me, geektherapy@iheartmedia.com, or any of the social media, just Geek Therapy on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and geektherapyradio.com. There's a contact page in there. It's really easy to get in touch with me. But I want to know, what do you think about Tesla? Is Elon Musk flying too close to the sun here? Is he melting his wax wings? Is he in danger of melting the wax wings? I just want to know your opinion on that. I hope you found this discussion interesting. And that's really all I got to say about that today. Thank you for listening to Geek Therapy Radio Podcast. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell your friends about it. There's no advertising more powerful than word of mouth. So if you think you have friends that might enjoy the podcast, let them know. That would be amazing. But most importantly, be good to yourselves and others. Remember that you are worthy of love and being loved. So until next time, I'll talk to you later.